A big Sunday here in Philadelphia sports with a two-game series kicking off for the Philadelphia 76ers in Toronto. Take on the Toronto Raptors, only a half game up on the Sixers. We'll be talking about it right here live from the Xfinity studio, along with Derek, Kyle, I'm Devon, along with Bree, the president of basketball operations, and all of you triple screening it here, and we appreciate you. We're presented by Bet365, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Make sure when you sign up, you use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Place those bets for your basketball team. When you get to halftime, if you want to do some live in-game on your football team, combine them together. Whatever you want to do right there at Bet365. We'll get to our pregame picks a little bit later. Tell you about the X factors and the starters as well. Big guy missing tonight. We talked about, is he going to play in the first game, second
Lane
game,
Johnson.
or the back-to-back? Which one is it going to be? Lane Johnson, what are you doing? Lane Johnson out. So is Joel Embiid. We'll talk about him, and we have to discuss this huge series right in front of us between the Sixers and the Raptors. Kyle, starting off with you. This is a big series, of course, as we talked about this three-game stretch in general with the road trip that they have. Big win against Orlando on Friday. Here we are with 2 games back-to-back. We figured that there would be some things happening there with Joel Embiid, not
Pro's pro over here as Dallas Goedert puts the team on his back.
I was just talking about how excited I am for the back-to-back. What are you reacting
and
to?
they decided to go Joel's out today.
Flag.
So, with it, Joel out today, and the Sixers
That's
also,
how upset I am about Joel being out today.
without Brandon Ingram, though. You can take that off the table because Brandon Ingram's also out.
I have some thoughts on the Brandon Ingram part of it.
Huge series.
Huge series. So
Half game back.
Let me start off with this as I get my Eagles anger out of the way there. I do think if the league is going to continue to have back-to-backs, more of them, if not all of them, if possible, should be this, because it removes a lot of the unfair, air quotes, advantage that you would have. Redemption time, by the way.
Wait, what happened?
Flag was on.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So it removes the travel element, and you keep the team that's already on the road, is already at a disadvantage on the road, and you play 2 in a row. And I like that style better. I also think it opens up interesting opportunities for teams to mess with the matchups, mess with the lineups, and get into more of a playoff style game or series of games where you don't get that in the regular season that often in the NBA. So that's my first appeal to Adam Silver and the NBA, to change it up a little bit. I like these mini series. I'd like to see more of them. On the, multiple injury fronts, you brought up Brandon Ingram on the Toronto side, Devon. So he's having a good individual season, but the Raptors have actually been considerably worse with him on the floor, and it's not just one side of the ball. They're worse with him on offense. They're much worse with him on the floor on defense, and that doesn't seem to make a lot of sense, but I do think there's probably some overlap in terms of floor spots. I know Ingram, while he has increased his three-point volume over the years, has always been a guy who wants to operate maybe a little more from the mid-range than he ought to, and that a modern NBA offense needs. The thing with Toronto, though, is that all those years of Masai Ujiri collecting 6'8" athletic guys has helped them turn into a very good defensive team. Despite the fact that they've traded away Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, and have made a bunch of changes to the roster, they're 6th in defense for the year. They are a very tough team to score on. And one of the big storylines for me that is connected to Joel Embiid being out is that when they had Joel for that one matchup early in the season, and it was, 6 guys in double figures, Toronto did switch everything. And what happens is Joel gets a matchup against a guy who's smaller, and he's able to score or draw 2, and that creates open looks. What we've seen when Tyrese has to attack a switch-heavy, 6'8" heavy team without Joel, that's been some of the games that he has struggled this year. We've seen it against Detroit. We've seen it once against Toronto. And so to me, the big storyline heading into this game is, how does Tyrese Maxey cope with this type of matchup and this type of team and the style of defense that they're going to play? It's unclear right now, but that's what we'll see today. And then we don't know if Joel will be back for tomorrow or not. I would assume he's probably back in the lineup.
If they win today, maybe they decide they don't have to.
Yeah, who knows?
Right.
But I think Tyrese's ability to break down this style of defense is, I guess, my biggest question coming in. It's a nice challenge for him. And how him and VJ Edgecombe respond to this game, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, and it really is. Like, you can look at the Raptors, and I think a lot of people probably had some expectations coming in that they have far exceeded. And you can look at their record, but it really is the defensive side of the floor where they've taken a huge step. Kyle mentioned it. I think you cited sixth by some. They're top 5. They're real elite. And it was a good call out because without Brandon Ingram, they're almost 5 points per 100 possessions better defensively. Yep. So you take a team that is already pretty good, really good defensively. You remove one of their few weak links. It is going to be, and you remove the Sixers' big guy from the equation. It is going to be a real test. I think this is a squad where I agree with everything Kyle said about the back-to-back. In part because if you're going to have to jam 2 games into 2 nights, removing travel is a huge consideration. But also, I do like the almost playoff atmosphere of it, the playoff aspect of it, where you get a chance to, not only adjust at halftime, not only adjust in game, but go back, rewatch the film, come out the next day with a different plan of attack. I'm real interested to see what they're able to do here in these 2 games. I hope Joel is able to play tomorrow night. That will give the Sixers a better look. It's going to be a real test, though, for not only Maxey, but for VJ, for McCain if he gets off of the bench. For pretty much all of their guards, this is a tough team to go up against.
It really is. Surprising the defense that Toronto has, as Kyle laid out the numbers and Derek talked about it following with it. This Raptors team is pretty good. We talked about them a lot in the preseason and leading into the regular season, and even with the addition of CMB to that team, of how good they are, how lengthy they are, and adding him to that type of roster is really good spot for him. And that has just checked out all season long. And they have done so where they've put themselves right there in the mix with the top 4 teams in the Eastern Conference. The good part here is, again, as the guys have talked about this being a very good test for them and a playoff-type atmosphere that Derek spoke of, let's get to the half game back that the Sixers are currently. First of all, the first 2 games, they split. Kyle pointed out in our last shows with the pregame and postgame that they were tied, Orlando and Philadelphia, and the Sixers got the edge there. These are the last 2 games between the Sixers and Raptors on the season. And if things continue to play out the way that they are, Toronto and the Sixers will once again be battling it out. So as you look at this, look, 2-2, you split those. All right, great. But if the Sixers do have an opportunity, both Ingram and Embiid out, but if they are able to win both of these games, starting with today, of course, but win this game today, you go in with a different type of sense of urgency where maybe they don't rest Joel Embiid tomorrow. Maybe they do look at that as a factor in, hey, later on down the line, we might be looking at 1 or 2 games separating us, and that head-to-head matchup may come into play. So this is where it's important, where you take care of your business. You hope that Drummond and Bona at the back at the 5 position handle their own. Jakob Poeltl is not playing, so he is out. They're going to have some mixture of different centers for the Toronto Raptors tonight as well. So this is a really good test. And they've already had some tests this season that we monitored through these 36 games so far. But this is a really good one right away, because maybe we didn't expect Toronto and the Sixers at this point with this 2-game series in Toronto to really mean something this early in the year. But it does. And since it does, the way that they have been playing overall and the way that they've been playing on the road, specifically winning 5 of their last 6 basketball games, this is a spot where they can go in and win. And just like when we talked about Orlando on Friday, Orlando is a very good basketball team early in the season. But we think the Sixers are a little bit better, especially with Franz Wagner being out, Jalen Suggs out that game as well. And we've seen the Sixers win a lot of games without Joel Embiid in the lineup. I haven't paid enough attention to Toronto to see how they've won those games. Numbers, of course, will tell it, but I haven't seen how they play those games when Brandon Ingram is out. But Immanuel Quickly, Scottie Barnes are available, and they are guys that have played really well. We saw Quickly hit some big shots against the Sixers in that game that they did win here in Philadelphia. So you have to account for those 2 as the 2 guys that are going to have they're going to be the guys that are the heads of the snake for this Raptors team this afternoon, and you want to make sure that you handle your business. You have an all-star in Tyrese Maxey. How do you handle that pressure? VJ Edgecombe with a down game or 2, scoring-wise, the last 2. Now it's an opportunity again for him to step back up in this spot and maybe put the scoring put the little bit more scoring in there in this particular game with Joel Embiid out. Paul George, of course, too, but VJ Edgecombe, I'm looking at you as well.
Yeah, and to that point, Devon, some of as we talk about Tyrese having to beat a switch-heavy style, some of that will rely on, hey, if they're giving VJ an easier matchup or they're able to engineer easier matchups, he's got to take advantage of those. That's what we saw in a different way in the OKC game, and that's when he really struggled. Now that was more they're putting 2 on the ball on Tyrese and forcing it out of his hands. But for VJ to be the driver of winning that I think we've talked about, this is the type of game where you need him to step up. You need him to be a true number 2 or at least number 3 option, depending on what Paul gives you. I will add one of the things so I have never, and historically at least, I was not a big fan of RJ Barrett, at least coming out of Duke and early on in his career. I do think he's someone that this year has genuinely adapted his play style. I think he's someone who's a willing passer more and more often. He's taking the types of shots that you need to. And so while offensively, I don't think he still is like on a borderline of like, I don't really like how this guy plays. He's a big part of this too. When he's been in the lineup, I think he's made a big difference to their defense. He's, again, big athletic guy who can switch, can move his feet. So he's someone that's tough to deal with. You combine him with someone like Scottie Barnes, and Scottie Barnes has had a very good individual season this year. They have some guys who will make your life difficult. And even if it's not the individual matchups, when you have Barrett on a stunt or Scottie Barnes showing help and these guys that are shooting the gaps, it's a team that can be tough to break down even if you do get through the initial level of defense. So while RJ Barrett's name comes with like a certain reputation, I do think that in Toronto, he has proven that he's willing to play a different level of basketball or a different style of basketball, I should say, as he ages and matures.
So 3 starters out for the Raptors with Jakob Poeltl, Brandon Ingram, RJ Barrett out as well. And Scottie Barnes has been made available. We'll get to the starters a little bit later. Let's take our pause here on the show. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about where things are with the Sixers without Joel Embiid, who we're looking at there for the Andre Drummond addendum bonus spot. We'll give you the starters a little bit later as well. Our X Factors. We'll do it all while we're all keeping our eye on the Philadelphia Eagles playoff game. Of course, it's the playoffs. We have
the Dallas Goddard Bowl, apparently.
Well, score 4 more and set all kinds of records in this one, Dallas Goddard, to make us all feel good. Hopefully, we're talking about 2-0 for our sports teams here in town. We'll come back right here. Sixers Raptors is the PHLY Sixers pregame show presented by Bet365.
And guys, first up, we want to tell you about Xfinity, which hopefully you're watching right now because they have their multi-view that you could really utilize here.
Got some multi-view going on in here.
It's perfect.
But we also want to make sure we tell you about their 5-year price guarantee. What if you could have reliable and intelligent Wi-Fi? And what if you could keep it at the same price for 5 years? That's the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Imagine Wi-Fi that makes everything in your home work together, that finds and fixes problems before you even notice them, like super intelligent Wi-Fi with a 6th sense. And that lets you stream the game even when the whole family's online. All your devices working in perfect harmony for 5 whole years. Here's the best part. No annual contracts, no hidden fees, and Xfinity's best equipment included. Take it from me, a lot can change in 5 years, although if you're the Eagles, not a lot changes because you're a contender almost every year. Championships are won, records are broken, dreams grow bigger, but your Wi-Fi, it should stay reliable, and the price should stay put. Lock in your price and unlock possibilities with Xfinity. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Select plans only. Restrictions apply.
Time to tell you about our presenting sponsor here on the show, Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365, and it's not ordinary right now here in Philadelphia. Keeping an eye on the birds, certainly getting ready for your Sixers at 6 o'clock against the Raptors. But hey, if you want to place a wager and you want to combine both teams on a ticket because you feel pretty good about both of your teams, you can do so as one of the 90 million users at Bet365 live in-game betting, where you can adjust some things as you see the game play out, and 780,000 events live each year. And so, look, if you place a wager, if you place $1 or more, you get to annual family dinner. Maybe the other side of the family doesn't like sports. You know what? Right there on your app at Bet365, you get to watch the game and feel pretty good about what your team is doing. And if you're a new customer, and you want to jump on in, head on over to Bet365 because they will give you $200 in bonus bets, win or lose, right there at Bet365. Whatever the moment's never ordinary at Bet365. All you have to do is deposit $10, place a bet for $5, and you will get $200 credited to your account in bonus bets, win or lose. Now, you have to use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Use those bonus bets on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. Once again, whatever the moment's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus, physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
I'm sorry, did you say something about family that doesn't like sports? I believe that's grounds for excommunication.
I have some of those. By the way, Kyle Shanahan, if he was a member of my family, I would call him a coward to his face.
What happened?
Who takes a timeout just so you can kick a field goal after threatening to go for it? Like, what a loser.
Especially when,
depending
on how much time is left,
bro.
and you can save that timeout to stop the Eagles. But yeah.
And his whole thing over his whole career is that he clams up in the big moments, and that's why he's never gotten it done.
Yep. Back here on the PHLY Sixers pregame
keep
show.
Keep doing it.
Sixers,
Bad Kyle.
Sixers, Raptors, and the Eagles will get the ball first in the third quarter. Hopefully they get some points on the board before they do that. Derek, let's talk about Embiid's absence and what you want to see from others, not maybe VJ Edgecombe, Tyrese Maxey, but just a few others as we address Embiid being out and some X factors in this game.
Yeah, well, Kyle brought up earlier, about teams that can show Tyrese length and blitz the ball have given him some troubles. And Scottie Barnes, look, I think Scottie Barnes has frustrated some people because I don't think he's made quite the offensive leap that a lot of people expected when he had a lot of success early on in his career. The perimeter shot, it's better than it was last year. I don't think it's gotten to the point where most people hoped it would be at this
He's right
point.
around 35%.
And he was like that a couple of years ago, too. He just hasn't quite taken that offensive leap. Defensively, he's turned himself into one of the best perimeter defenders, most versatile defenders in the league. And he is going to be someone, whether he's matched up one-on-one, whether he's providing some off-ball help, he can be an absolute menace defensively and really make anyone's life difficult, including the guards. It will be interesting to see how they get Tyrese freed. It'll be interesting to see whether or not they can get him off ball some. This might be a game where you might try to put the ball in VJ's hand and let Tyrese run off ball quite a bit because you're just not going to have that on ball screen setter like Embiid has become. And I think this is going to be a tough test without him. I do think this is a game where Embiid, especially the Embiid that we've seen over the last couple of weeks, would really provide a lot of help for the guards. So I think trying to get Tyrese free is going to be a huge key. Trying to do that without Joel Embiid is obviously a lot more difficult. We have seen them rely on that two-man game more and more and more over the last couple of weeks as Embiid starts looking more and more like himself. So yeah, I think it's going to be a real tough test for him.
You're right, by the way. Terrible Kyle, the other one, coaching the 49ers, because it's like 3 minutes left in the game, and it's in the first half, and you don't even save that.
No, I was watching it. I'm like, is he really? Like, it was in the middle of my ad read, so I wasn't paying 100% attention.
So I'll add one thing on to something you said, Derek, which is maybe it's a game that they spend a lot of time with VJ on the ball and Tyrese off ball. I think they've been trying to go that way more often just in general as VJ's getting more comfortable initiating the offense. Now, some of that, as I watch this deep shot fall to the turf, some of that has hinged on the chemistry and the two-man game that VJ and Joel have started to develop, right? Where it isn't the same as what it looks like for Joel and Tyrese. It's not anywhere near that. But I think not to keep going back to the Jimmy Butler stuff, but you can see a little bit of
I was thinking, when you talked about his two-man game, I thought exactly.
No, like what the early Joel and Jimmy two-man stuff looked like, where it's, it's a change of pace and off tempo and you're feeling it out a little bit. And Joel gets into the pick and pop. Joel gets into maybe a pocket pass, not at the elbow, but more on like the left block and the left corner. Mm-hmm. And if he's not getting the ball and they shade over toward Joel, VJ's been able to get middle. And the one play we really loved the other night was the get downhill in the pick and roll and then pass fake runner for VJ early in the game. Now that stuff's probably not going to be there today. So to me, one of the big things that we're going to find out is which big will play a good game that's left on the roster, because neither guy has been consistently good. It is why we had that brief moment there where it's like, hey, I see Adem's hands improving. I see Adem playing more poised on offense, that we had hey, is he just going to take this job and run with it? And Nurse gave him a few games to run with it. And If he was running a hurdles race, he jumped right into the hurdle and fell down. So Andre then found himself back in the mix. Tonight, you need something from both guys. I'm curious to see exactly who ends up the more successful big tonight. I think in theory, this could be an Andre game because without Pirtle and without the real height, length, whatever at the center position, this is a game he can really exert himself on the glass.
100%.
But, I feel like there have been other games like that recently, and Andre has not been able to capitalize.
I'll pivot back to the guard help because I look at this one and I'm looking at you, Paul George, to help out with some of the ball handling. And then I'll even add in Quentin Grimes of how many 3-guard offensive looks will we get for those lineups? How many of those will we see? Jared McCain, you brought him up a little bit. The length might bother him, but they're going to need the ball handling. And when you have some of these other guys that come off the bench and they are where they are just so aggressive defensively, like Sheed, where he's gonna really put some pressure onto what Jared McCain is trying to do. He's got to be able to come free and knock down some shots tonight for them. But when I go back to Quentin Grimes, that's just the other part of the ball handling where maybe we see a 5-assist game from Quentin Grimes like we've seen sometimes to help out where both Maxey and VJ Edgecombe have to start get going there, and that's where Quentin Grimes may come into play as far as the guards go. Yeah. But then the Paul George part comes in because this is that, 19-6-6 type of game where he may not end up with double-digit assists, but he gets those 6 that are important, but the other one leads to something else where the ball is just simply popping around the the perimeter and all, leading to some pretty good shots. So I think those 3, McCain, Grimes, and George are a huge part of helping out as far as the ball handling goes. And we got a glimpse, obviously, that we think that it's going to be Andre Drummond. I haven't seen the starters yet, and Bree will show up whenever she's ready. But the Andre Drummond piece where we did not see Bona in the last game, and we saw Andre Drummond get that first call, then I agree with you, Kyle, with Andre Drummond in the starting lineup now with the usual 4, that, as Bree puts it on the screen, that he can have a double night, and he's going to take his 2 corner threes that he's going to take in the game. But as far as dominating on the glass, because you don't have Pirtle and you have some of those other front court players there, Scottie Barnes gets active on the glass, so you have to put a body on him. Dominic Barlow, I believe, will do that. CMB is in the starting lineup.
My
you got to keep him, and you got to keep a body on him as
100%.
well. And that's where it's going to come down to the rebounding battle of Drummond, Bona, Barlow, Walker, and everybody else just team rebounding to help out in that regard. Because we see it far too often where we give the Sixers a ton of credit, especially what they've been doing on the glass with some of these games, but we can't be sitting here yelling at each other during the game. That's too many second chance opportunities. Yeah. Right? Desmond Bane had 2 in the first quarter.
On his own misses.
When Joel and Barlow were down there in the paint. Don't want to see those tonight. And I do feel pretty good with Andre Drummond being there as one that is certainly going to get his hands, squeeze the pill, and make sure he secures that rebound.
So here's another thing as the starters were flashed across the screen worth watching tonight. Toronto could opt to play a good bit of zone here, or they could just say, we're going to really load up in the paint without playing zone, because if you're starting Drummond and Barlow both, Drummond is going to shoot threes if he gets them, but
so is Barlow.
And so is Barlow. But I think if I had to guess, Toronto is probably happy if a possession is ending with either of those guys taking perimeter jump shots. And so if they can funnel those jumpers to those 2, that's going to help them collapse the paint, remove the driving lanes for the Tyrese, VJs, and Pauls of the world. So their ability to get downhill could be limited. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Unfortunately, there is no, I guess Andre is the stretch big option, right? It's not a Dem, and a Dem has made a 3 this year for sure. But yeah, we'll see. So that's a storyline, because while Joel has not shot it particularly well from 3 this year in the aggregate, he gets guarded out there.
Yes.
Like all his jumpers, even if it's loading up that trebuchet and taking the slow one, teams respect him as a threat. We're going to have to wait and see how Toronto decides to play it tonight.
Derek, I'll ask you this as we talk a little bit of X factors here. Game 3 for Kelly Oubre, coming off the bench.
I was not even thinking about him and Watford.
Is this a more of an offensive identity type game where it's like a 8 to 10 point game for Kelly Oubre because the opportunity might be there a little bit more tonight with no Joel?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how quickly Nick wants to ramp him up because he has been kind of slow rolling that so far. This is another game where you could certainly use any kind of athleticism, maybe get out in the open court a little bit, run a little more. Everyone likes to scream how much more they run with Embiid out of the lineup. Numbers don't always back that up, but they certainly have the ability, if they can force some turnovers, to get out in transition. Kelly helps with both forcing the turnovers and getting out on the break. And he still helps you match up, even though Toronto has some people out. They still have some wings who can score the basketball. He helps you defend those as well. I would like to see a little more from Kelly, but that's just not more more from him, like more minutes from Kelly, just to try to get him back fully up to speed.
So we saw 20 in the first game, and I think he only played about 13 in the second game. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. So yeah, I think this could, but also there's a back-to-back, and he's probably, who knows what their plan is for that. So we'll see.
Hey, look at our boy, by the way. Schoolboy checking in with a super chat says, just showing some love. Now back to the Birds.
Thank you.
We appreciate you, buddy. Thank you.
All I know is that AJ and Nick Sirianni yelling at each other.
Boy, that did not look pretty.
I don't know why.
I got a text from my sister. He's gone in the offseason. I was like,
I don't know why. I know I don't like them giving up a 3rd and 11 and getting that first down for the 49ers. But that being said, we appreciate it. The Kelly Oubre piece.
The Kelly Oubre piece? Yeah, look, Kelly has done very little so far. Trending even less. Like, he didn't play last game and only played in garbage time the game before that. So the hope would be you can get Kelly back on track now because this is a loaded schedule in the next few weeks. They just have game after game after game after game. I actually would be curious if the plan is to only play Oubre and or Watford in one of these games because they are so early in the return. And I think while Paul George and Joel Embiid are different in importance level and how carefully they're going to be treated with injuries, I do wonder if they'll show some restraint with the other two guys coming back.
Watford likes the Raptors, man. Career triple-double. First
tremendous
career
game
triple-double.
against them earlier in the season.
Yes, he did. All right, let's get to it, and we appreciate everybody checking in. Philly Star says Kelly goes for 12 and 5 boards with 2 blocks as well.
And 2 steals.
2 steals.
Man.
Count on the steals, I think. We'll see what he does with the other stuff. I like the optimism, Philly Star. Let's get to the Bet365 pregame picks. Presented by, I just told you, Bet365, the best place to go. Never ordinary at Bet365. We got the VJ, for me, the Edgecombe assist in the last game. Desmond Bain did not make threes, but for the sake of we wanted to win so we can talk about a victory instead of a loss. Okay, cool. Now, let's see if we can get something going with both Bree and I's picks here for the team tonight.
All right, let's see.
All right, Bree has Scottie Barnes 20+ and the Sixers win at +275.
All right, Bree loves the just money line play, so I like Bree getting aggressive tonight.
She's been right, absolutely. So with that, I like that from Bree. I went with Maxey's going to hit 4 threes tonight. I went aggressive, ultra aggressive, especially with no Joel. Actually, I did this before Joel was out of the game. But Joel and VJ Edgecombe, 26.5 points, assists, rebounds combined. Once again, I did this before. It was announced that Embiid was out. I like my chances tonight with those two.
And
that's
Maxey,
a plus
4 plus
390. Plus 390 there on Bet365.
You guys didn't put my bet up there.
What's your bet?
Birds by 1,000,000.
There you go.
Let's go!
Says the guy who's barely watching the game.
Put it on the money line there by 1,000,000, Derek said. So go ahead and, well, don't do that because the score's too close
it's
right now.
It's funny, the Eagles are winning, and I feel like vibes are super low, which is very Philadelphia.
If you want to combine those, please do at Bet365. They are your friend, whatever the moment's never ordinary. Make sure when you do sign up, make sure you use the code PHLY365 for tonight's game against LA and New England in football. You get a 50% same game parlay super profit boost there. And in basketball, you do get a plus 30% profit boost at Bet365. That'll do it for us, everybody. We'll be back after the game. Hopefully, we're smiling about the green team winning and reacting reacting to a nice win by your basketball team tonight. 10 minutes after the game goes final, come hang with us because the post-game show should be over with the Birds, and you then happily reacting to the post-game show with those guys, and then you come hang out with us because it's going to be a 2-0 night for you for your Philadelphia teams. For Bree, Derek, and Kyle, I'm Devon. We'll see you 10 minutes after the game. Sixers, Raptors, critical series here. No Embiid, no Ingram. Who gets the win? We'll be talking about it after the game. Enjoy.
We all silly like the mayor.